Hi, everybody. Welcome to Randy Sands and the Mediumship Crew. Today is, I believe, July 6th,
Yes.
and I believe that makes this the 16th episode,
Wow.
right? Who knew?
You say so.
I believe. I can't swear to it, but I'm pretty sure. So tonight, I wanted to do a topic that I felt would be of great importance to a lot of people. With the climate we have in the country, and everybody have varying opinions on a lot of different things, which is a good thing. You know, everybody has to be self-thinkers. um I know that for me there have been some triggers, and I've realized that as somebody that's seasoned in spiritualism, that I've almost, I'm not even going to say I've almost had slips. I've probably had some slips. And I've been finding it a little difficult to stay in my spiritual lane. So I wanted to talk a little bit about our spiritual support system. What does that look like? What should it look like? And then how can we help ourselves to keep our energy levels elevated and possibly avoid having the slips? Um, Before we get started, let me first say welcome to any newcomers that are with us. We hope you like it. We hope you find some value in the content. We encourage you to click subscribe and hit the bell so you stay informed on our new content. And of course, we always want to welcome back everyone else that's been with us for a while. So, what I thought we would do is I thought we would address the crew first, because I talk to you guys all the time about your spiritual support system. And as a matter of fact, I push you guys to become a family, because you have to have that spiritual support system. So what I'd like to do is have the two of you start off by talking about what your journey has been in building a spiritual support system.
Well, I can go first, Michelle, if you want.
Hey, go ahead.
Okay. So, up until I just turned 40 this year. And to be honest with you, many of you may know, but I did not talk about, being a medium, any of this stuff, really with anybody until the last couple of years, really until the right people just suddenly fell onto my path is what I think it was. Lucky Randy, lucky Michelle, lucky a few other people, but it really was true because I really think now looking back, I didn't have that support system there to even talk about it with anybody that would understand really what was going on. um, and now that I have people that understand it and that are receptive of it, um, it's it's just allowed me to blossom and become way more comfortable with myself than I ever was. That being said, though, um, it does change relationships. You realize really quickly who you can talk to and who you can't. And unfortunately, I'm not blessed with having a very supportive family that understands it, that gets it. They don't get it. They don't choose to get it. It's not they don't accept me, but it's not something I would go to them and talk to them about it. So, um, you know, as far as what I do spiritually, I vent to these guys. I call them my vibe tribe, you know, and I vent to them, and they help me get through different things. Um, Learning to take that time out every single day, regardless of whether I think I have time or not. Just sit, meditate. I'm a squirrel in traffic all the time, so just to sit still is a huge, huge deal. Um,
Oh, girl, you're not lying. You are.
I know, right? And a very tough decision I made this past weekend was, I have some family in town, and I have issues with my family as far as drama. It's a lot going on, and you know what? It's taken me a long time to get mentally where I'm at right now and making progress with myself, that I made the decision not to go. And I made the decision that for my, for my own self, I need to be home and not be the squirrel in traffic and just take a break. And it was, it made some people mad, but you know what? Sometimes you got to do you. So that's what I did. And
Good.
I'm not going to feel guilty about it.
That's even
Right?
better.
Yeah, exactly.
So
How about you,
Michelle,
Michelle?
let's hear about your path with your spiritual support system.
Um, my path. I've been very blessed as far as my family goes. I don't have a lot of drama. I don't have a lot of. I mean, there's dysfunction on a very small. I think on a small scale compared to a lot of other people. But so my spiritual support system had been mostly just me, and then Lynn actually, who is here today, I would say has been a significant part of that for many years because we talked quite a bit, and she has a lot of the same or more um, thoughts or issues or ideas or whatever. So we could talk about it to each other, and we could commiserate with each other that nobody understood. But now then, like Leanne, I think it does just is a matter of time, and when you're ready, people fall into your path, I think, or you align with the right people, and now, like her, I have Randy and Leanne and some other people, that I can talk to about it,
Hmm.
and kind of share my thoughts. And I even have people call and ask me stuff now. So it's interesting. Um, and even like with family wise, like I don't really talk to them that much about it. I mean, they know, but they don't really, they have their own stuff going on, and I have my own stuff going on. And my mother and I talk about it, and she's very Christian. So
Wow.
as we are so we agree to disagree a lot, but we basically agree. We just kind of disagree on the origins of a lot of things. So that's kind of nice to be able to have an adult discussion without people flipping out or getting,
Right.
offensive or upset with you because of, we just reach a point where we go, okay, we agree to disagree. And Deb, who at work, sometimes we'll get into discussions about stuff, and she's very Christian as well, and we'll just get to a point where we're like, okay, we're done.
Hmm.
We'll just agree to disagree. Move along, next subject. So yeah, so yeah, I think as you grow and you align yourself with certain ideals, those people show up, and to help move you along.
Hmm.
Okay. Was anybody else? Because we've got three other people in with us tonight, which is awesome. Yes, Tammy, please.
I think because I've been more or less connected with the spirit world since I was 10, I had to do a lot of relying just on myself and spirit. And now being out here in the country, kind of away from everybody, I just had to get into the knowing that it's my authentic self. And I really don't push it on people that aren't interested, but if they bring it up, I will tell them exactly how I feel about being connected to spirit, and maybe they need to hear that, maybe they don't, I don't
But,
know.
but what's your spiritual support system look like? Who is your support? How do you get your support?
Um, that's a good question. I again have to rely pretty much on myself and spirit. I had a case this week where I had to unfriend somebody from Facebook only to be authentic to myself, because just knowing this person for all the years that I did and the hatred that was coming out of this person, and I know that there nothing I could say would change it. that I
Mhm.
just had to be true to myself and just like cut that person out of my life, which hurt me, you know. And so I had a hard time with that. So I would go to the woods, you know, and I'll sit in the woods and I'll meditate, you know, and get in touch with spirit. And I'm there for hours on end. And it's just being connected. I have to remove myself from the media that Facebook is, you know, the media that I'm watching on TV. And I need to get back to nature and to grounding myself and to just being more in touch with spirit, you know, and not letting things draw me down. Like you say, I feel myself jumping out of my spiritual box when usually I'm so good at holding it
Mhm.
together, you know, and these times are really, really trying. And it's just removing myself from the situation and getting back in touch with spirit and nature.
Good.
Mhm.
Good. Anyone else? No? Okay. Um, my spiritual support system, I came from a family that it's like two halves and or I don't know, there's these two bookends and nothing in the middle. So one side is very metaphysical. My grandmother was heavy into astrology back in the 1950s, way before her time, maybe even before that. I don't know. And I mean, very heavy into it. Um, then you have my mother, her daughter, who will tell you she doesn't have a drop of spiritual anything in her entire body. So, you know, for me, it was really weird because growing up, I would talk to my grandmother about anything and everything. As I got older, and you know, once my grandmother passed, I found I couldn't talk to my mother. Now, I'm not saying she's a bad person. She's not. Um, I love her dearly. We're just complete polar opposites. Complete polar opposites. So there's really nothing there to talk about. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Um, so I had to create my own spiritual support system, and that's probably why it's so important to me that my students do this, is because I know the journey that I had. So, you know, doing different workshops over the years, going different places, meeting like-minded people, I would always offer my friendship. And if somebody, you know, I would extend the olive branch, and if they reached out and grabbed it and met me halfway, we became friends. And then, of course, we found out over time if we were a good match or not. Some fell by the wayside, others, you know, are here
Mhm.
and still, you know, with me today. But it's important that you have people that you can talk to. You know, it's really important because most of the, well, I don't want to say most of the world, but a lot of the world just doesn't get it. They don't understand us.
Right?
And, you know, it can be very isolating if we allow it.
Mhm. You know,
So,
and I'm a firm believer too. You know, Tammy, like you said, one of my biggest downfalls is trying to always, you know, be the bigger person, just let people vent, let people whatever judge, let people throw their negative energy, you know, and that gets so draining after a while that, you know, I've really taken control of that recently too and realized, you know what, some of these people are just energy suckers, you know, spiritual or not, like they just draw the freaking, you know, the life right out of you. Cut them off. And I don't feel guilty about it anymore. Like I said, there's play ways to do it. I've blocked people, I've removed people as friends, I kind of, you know, back away from other ones. um but you know what, you can't feel guilty about that. Like I said, at the end of the day, you got to look out for you and you first. um I
well,
think a
not
lot
even
more people
just
need to do that.
you. It's not even just you. It's looking out for your spiritual side.
Hmm. Yep.
Um, you know, to maintain that because we work so hard to build it that you know, our goal is to be a better spiritual person today than we were yesterday. That
Mhm.
doesn't mean that we're not going to have slips. You can be spiritual and you can be angry. You can be spiritual and want to smack somebody. You can be spiritual and have a temper tantrum.
I'm proof
You
of that
can
every
be,
day.
you see what I'm saying? That doesn't mean that you, just because you're spiritual doesn't mean you won't have slips. I
Mhm.
do not let me fool anybody. I have them because I'm a spiritual being having a human experience.
Right.
Right.
And my goal is to get better and better at dealing with those experiences. But I have failures, but those
Mhm.
failures are tools to grow and keep expanding,
Absolutely.
you know?
Hmm.
I think it's
And
interesting, like when I notice that something triggers me, um, I always try and be mindful of why. Like if I get, when I get upset about something, or when I get, whether it's on Facebook or whatever it is,
Hmm.
I always try and figure out why. Because it's not really, it's really never about the other person usually.
Right. Right.
So
It's like what's triggering inside of you that you need to work on to figure
yeah,
it out. And like I said, and then those are things I'm trying to identify as well. And then I also try to look at it and go, you know what? Sometimes, if you can eliminate things from your path that just they prove worthless. You know what I mean? They're just there to, upset you. Then you know what? I'll take them out of my path right now because that's not where my focus needs to be. You know?
hey, we don't need to step on the marble and fall backwards if we can
Right.
remove the marble from our path.
Yep. Absolutely.
So let's talk about, and I don't want to get into politics or the virus too much or anything like that, because we all may have varying opinions, and like I said earlier, that's a good thing,
Hmm.
because if we were all the same, the world would be a very boring place. But let's talk about it, because for me, um, as a spiritualist, I'm all about everybody coming together. I'm about peace and harmony, although I can get out of my lane, let me tell you. Um, there's other people that have very different philosophies, and that's okay. But those two can clash. There's people that have different ideas on the virus, and those can clash. So our TV is a big problem because it's just constant insertion of information,
Definitely.
no matter what channel you watch, because I'm not a big TV watcher, but when I do, I try to watch all the channels so that I'm getting a wide variety of data input. um, Social media, I have found, is turning into a big problem for me.
Yep.
It's where I get triggered the most. And like I said, I'm not shy. You don't have to wonder what I'm thinking. I will tell you. So what I've decided to do is really to back off, um, which I had backed off a lot, but I'm going to back off far more,
Hmm.
because I have been feeling like a spiritual vampire has been attached to my jugular vein. And I'm sure a lot of people have been feeling like that. So let's talk about that, you guys. Let's talk about how have you been feeling and what have you been doing. So another thing I've been doing is I've been listening to a lot of music. I've started working out, trying to take off, getting ready to take off the COVID fat that I've put on, along with a lot of other people and what have you. So these are a couple things that I do that help me elevate my energy. So how are you guys feeling, and what are you doing to elevate your energies?
I know I'm working on the meditation thing. I have found that it's something I struggle with and always have. But I'll tell you what, it makes a huge difference. And then finally, by the grace of God or whoever is finally going, hey Lee, you know what? Why don't you sit down and meditate for 10 minutes? And I'm starting to see the correlation between my calmness and doing that. But I also, no matter how busy I am, have made it a priority that whether it be 10 minutes a day, I like to do crafts. I like to do stuff like that. You know, I'm building a squirrel house. Sandy, wait till you see my squirrel house because Sandy lives next door to me. It's insane. But things like that are just it's my way of just, you know what, bringing it down a notch, and it makes a huge difference. Like I said, 5 minutes isn't much, but it does make a big difference at the end of the day. You know, it's not work, it's not a bill to pay, it's not anything, you know, that can be tied to anything negative. It's just purely something that's good, and it doesn't make a world of difference, but you know what, it's important to me and my mental sanity. And the squirrels are gonna love it.
Vinny.
I have some squirrels that would really love it.
Yes. Oh,
Yeah.
Maybe you can order one from Leanne when she's done with her
Oh, and
It's a
she makes
Cadillac.
Amazing hats out of
Tinfoil.
amazing metal hats.
Yeah, I need a tinfoil one too, for sure.
Yeah. Right?
I have a whole closet full, but I won't, you know. No. Never know. You can never have too many.
Right?
Exactly.
I go out in the yard a lot. That's like my to-go-to if I get agitated or, you know, just stressed out. And what Randy was saying about social media is like, I almost can't even get on there anymore because I'm either stirring up trouble by accident or sometimes on purpose, but
Right? It's true,
Yeah,
though. You know, I miss the
it's
days where you could log in and look at somebody's kid or look at something good going on. You know,
yeah,
I just
do the happiness things, you know, like, well, and here's my live happy, you know, happy acts count kind of thing.
Mhm.
But yeah, and like even putting this shirt on today was part of what I do to cheer myself up. It's like not just a plain old shirt. Let's try to be happy today.
Yeah. Oh, it's true,
You know,
though.
and it comes and goes. It's horrible sometimes, but you know, it's a lot of anxiety around the virus and work and money but yeah, if I go out in the yard and work or you know, play with the dogs, whatever, that's kind of bother Michelle here and there. You know? Yeah.
She is fun to pick on.
It gives you a lot of
Yeah,
material.
she picks right back.
Right?
Then I go out in the yard and work that off, and then everybody's house is right, and you know, it goes from there.
Right?
Oh, fine. Well, part of what I did was Lynn and I went to the metaphysical shop yesterday and bought some stuff. So I got some Palo Santo that I've been burning the past 2 days because I love it. But yeah, I'm. It's funny for me sometimes because like you guys are more like type A personalities. I am not. I'm like as far removed from a type A personality as you could probably get. If I got any slower, I'd be going backwards.
Um,
So for me, it's I don't anymore. I don't get triggered a lot by things anymore because I've learned, I guess, over the years just to let people say what they're going to say. You know, you can try and change people's opinions, but most of the time you can't. And really, I think what it comes down to for a lot of people is everybody just wants to be heard, but they don't want to listen.
Mhm.
So, and I try to remember that. And I know, like I tell Rita all the time, why are you getting upset? Why are you letting that bother you? Who cares?
Because people could die. That's why.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and I know that, but you know, part
And my
of what
wife's a healthcare worker. That's
you
why.
have to remember what's going to be is what is what's going to be. What it is what it is. What it's going to
And
be.
Mhm.
and that's very true because, you know, there's a side of me that'll see certain things on social media and I'll say, you know what? my wife is a healthcare worker, and she doesn't need to be unnecessarily exposed, nor does any other healthcare worker, because they have rights too, you know. Then when I get back in my spiritual mode, I'm telling myself, you know what? The universe has a master plan, and nothing is going to change that master plan, no matter what it is. I just saw tonight the mayor of Atlanta, her family has tested positive. They've done everything right. So the universe has a master plan. And, you know, from a logical standpoint, it's very upsetting, because you care about your loved one who's
Sure.
in the health industry or whatnot. But when we take that step back and we get back into our spiritual lane, we realize, and I've lost people to this virus. So, but when we step back into that spiritual lane, we realize, you know what, they were meant to graduate and, enter the spirit world. The universe has a divine plan, but it's easy to slip out of that and get involved in the human experience.
It is, and it's hard, when you have people involved in, in healthcare. Like, my sister's a nurse, and she's putting PICC lines in COVID patients every day, and has to come home and change in the garage and take, a shower before it, and is trying to stay away from my mother because my mother's immunocompromised. So, it's difficult. And I have several friends like Lynn and some other people that are high anxiety people, and the major thing underlying, I guess, theme to everything right now is that there is no answer and everything is uncertain, and people with anxiety cannot deal with not knowing something. And now you don't know about a lot of things. So I can see where it could really, push some people over the edge easy.
And you just have
Absolutely.
to have faith in the universe. And, it's like I always say to you guys, your track record of getting through rough days is 100% because you're still living and breathing. And when something has looked really bad, when you look back at it, it may not have gone the way you wanted it to, but it actually probably ended up better. And it's the same thing. We just have to have that faith, in my mind. We have to have that faith that, everything is going to work out according to divine plan. Excuse me. And that it's going to be for the best and highest good. For me, I probably wouldn't care as much about certain things if my wife wasn't in the healthcare field. But I'm not going to lie, that does push my buttons. Just this much.
Randy, 81 employees of my mom's nursing home came down with COVID, and my mom did as well.
I know, I remember.
My mom made it through, but I've lost a lot of friends that passed from the COVID. So as soon as she got it, I figured, oh, there goes mom. She's 82 years old and she's not going to make it. And I was in this trying to make her feel good when I talked to her on the phone, but at the same time inside myself feeling like it was the end of the world, and it's really difficult to, like you say, keep that spiritual side when everything around you is kind of falling apart.
It's funny because as a minister, I've enjoyed the fact that every couple I've married is still married. Well, the very first couple I married is not married any longer because one of them got COVID. And it was also a good friend, that couple's a good friend. So that was rather tough to get that phone call.
Yeah.
And it was just boom, boom, from one moment to the next, which is a blessing. When you think about it, it's a blessing. Does anybody else have anything they'd like to add?
So if, when you look back on that, Tammy, with your mom,
Mm-hmm.
do you use that now as a kind of like a reminder of your faith yourself about having blind faith in the that you don't just assume, oh, this means this is the end, or it's over, or that you just have to kind of
Definitely.
push through it and see what the outcome's going to be.
It was like a war within myself. My spiritual side says, well, whatever happens, happens for the highest and the best, right? But it's my mom.
Right.
So then the human side takes over, and it's like, geez, so I had to get back to like my artwork and stuff like that to just like totally take my mind off of what's going on around me. It's just like shutting myself off into this safe little bubble, right? But
And that's the perfect description, a war within yourself, because that's how I've been feeling.
right.
Because the spiritual side of me really wants to be there.
Yeah.
But it's like the spiritual side of me is here and the human is here. And I keep going, it's like you keep going to that human side and touching it and getting yourself into trouble just enough to draw you back up. And then you'll be there for a bit, and then and it's like a slippery slope. You're blessed because you have the artwork and you have the woods. And by the way, your artwork is amazing.
Thanks. Thank you.
Here I'm in the big city. And what I've come to realize in the last day or two, and of course my back happened to go out because I was doing some craziness. Just so you know, workout bands do break, and be careful you don't fly across the room. It's not good on your back. But what I did realize is in my community, we are on the intercoastal, so we have a little beach area. And I'm going to start making it my business to go there once a day.
Yeah.
Just for a few minutes. It's nature. It gets me out of, even though I'm still in the big city, it gets me out of that arena for a little bit. And even if it's 10 minutes, that 10 minutes will go a long ways.
Yeah. And it's not like I just walk in the woods and look around. I mean, I go up to the trees and I look at the teeniest little details, and the little holes in the wood, and just everything I can do to focus on details rather than the craziness in my head, right?
Right. Anybody else have anything to add?
Those are great points. Like I said, just getting away from it. And I think, you do just have to focus. I'm trying to just take it day by day. And, I don't feel guilty if one day I'm more human than spiritual. I'm whatever today I need to be to get through it and to deal with my own anxiety and my own, responsibilities and everything that relies on me. And, all those are great tips. Definitely the nature, definitely doing something for yourself. Self-care is highly, highly underrated. Nobody does enough of it. So, but it's funny because even before this, this meeting today, this gathering that we're doing now, I was sitting outside in my little hammock chair and watching a bird in the little, pond that we have over on the side, and watching a cat run through the backyard and the squirrels and everything else. And it's amazing. It just takes your mind off everything for a couple minutes. And that's so refreshing to just do that, and do more of it.
It's funny that we have a black racer snake, and there's a window right next to me on this side. And when I'm sitting at my desk, every now and then I'll put that blind up and I'll see it go, trucking on by. And I catch myself looking out like, okay, are you around? Are you around? Because they're good. They make sure that there's no mice or rats around your house. So it's a good thing to have, and they're harmless. But I do that. And then I notice when I go into the kitchen area, I'm always looking outside for gargantuan or stripe or, any of the iguanas that, come into the yard. Because yes, it does. It takes your mind off of it and it helps. And that's why I'm going to be over at the beach
Yeah.
area because there's plenty of iguanas over there. There's plenty of all kinds of stuff over there. And yeah.
Yeah.
And the
have to
last
say,
thing, oh, I'm sorry.
I would so rather go in the woods with the furry animals.
I was thinking the same thing, Lynn. I'm like, ain't no iguana coming around me. I'm good.
I don't think they have any opinions either.
Oh.
And what I'm going to close with is, you know, when this started happening and I started noticing that battle, and I would have a slip or I'd have a failure or whatever you want to call it, a backslide. In the very beginning, I was beating myself up over it. And that doesn't do any good either.
Mm-mm.
And what I've realized is that, you know what? Instead of beating myself up, it's an awareness thing. It's spirit letting me know, hey, look it, you're getting out of your lane. You're getting out of your lane, get back in. And it became a tool for me. So now I try to catch myself, you know, I start feeling a certain way and I try to catch it and say, oh, get back in your lane. And so I'm doing better now than I was, you know, a little bit ago. But, you know, don't beat yourself up over it. It's a tool. It's a learning experience. And if you don't have the slips, you're not going to grow. And that's the important thing, is that we grow.
Mhm.
All right. So that's all I have. Anybody else want to say anything in closing before we sign off?
No, that was important. I think it was a very important topic for tonight.
Thank
I
you.
thought so. It came to me and I said, you know, if I have experienced this, and I'm sure other people have too.
Hmm.
And with what we shared, you know, it might help somebody else. And if it doesn't help anybody else, somebody else may be able to identify with it and at least say, I'm not alone,
Right.
you know.
Mhm.
So with that, we're going to say good night from the crew and our guests who we love. And thank you guys for taking your time to come in and join us and any input you gave. And I will be announcing next week's topic. And everybody have a good night.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Randy.